It's the moving train theory. Well, if there's one person who believes the movie is getting made, that's one thing. But then, you know, like when your casting director comes on, it's like two people who are making this movie. I believed you. Don't believe anybody. I think that's the moral of this.
But one of the first things that really kind of kicked things into high gear was we had a screening in New York at the Pioneer Theater of the short film open house.
So I scheduled a couple meetings so that we could get a look at New York actors while he was there. And then we scheduled meetings in LA with the same agents and a few more. And started pulling together lists and ideas of who we liked and who we didn't like. Musical, they said, what's the run of the musical? And I'd say, no, musical feature. So they knew it was a movie, because they thought it was a musical, but they were into it.
Most actors sing, or at least they think they can sing, and they rarely get a chance to sing. So for them to have an opportunity to act on film in a musical, we always felt we were more likely to get a higher level of actor, and indeed that turned out to be true.
We called the agents and we said, who do you have who wants to sing? Not that they sing well or badly, but just who secretly has been wanting to sing. So that worked well. It saved time, and we eventually learned to ask early on, make sure they know the budget and make sure they know it's singing. And can I mention names? After Philip Seymour Hoffman, we wanted Michelle Pfeiffer because she wanted to sing. Alicia Silverstone, I think, also wanted to sing. They could throw out names that John Hurd, you know, like you'd never think of him as in a musical, and it was a great idea and things like that.
Yeah, which is why he's cast in the movie.
That's why you will not be seeing him in the movie. Yeah. We'd make offers, drop them off, and then...
And we would always tell them that it was our assistant that would drop off.
Right, even though it was really you or me. I mean, with Sally Kellerman, we made the offer Wednesday and heard from, and Thursday I called the agent on something else and he said Sally would like to meet tomorrow afternoon. I mean, it was very fast. When people responded, it was because they wanted to do it. It was nice to have an Oscar nominee as your first person attached, and she was so excited.
Even though we're on a run from a dream, it's over. Hello, and what do you want?
It was a kind of surreal. We went up to her place. She had brownies for us, which were very good.
The people that come through my houses, I like to show a good time, you know, and I like to have a good time.
And she listened to the CD that Dan had pre-recorded, and then she played us some stuff that she had sung.
I was in a famous flop musical, Lost Horizon, Burt Bacharach, and I was in a huge flop musical on Broadway. It was called Breakfast at Tiffany's, and it was one of the most famous, you know, in the late 60s.
Have I worked with an Oscar nominee before? No. She's so cool. I could watch her work all day long.
Is that where you're gonna be now?
Be like flitting around talking about whatever, and as soon as you say action, she's just like there.
Action.
Okay. You think my commissions pay for the car? No way, hell no. You think my commissions pay for the car? Hell no. At least gets paid direct deposit.
We met her kids, and she introduced us as the people she's going to work with. I felt like saying, but you haven't talked to your agent yet. And that was when I kind of started to think this might happen, after months and months of making offers. We met with Kellie Martin. Just like the material, she responded to the material.
When I read the script, I was laughing a lot. And that doesn't always happen, even when you read, you know, the next Jim Carrey comedy.
She wanted to meet the director to see if that you were creatively compatible. But she admired your African artifacts. And then we lucked out and we made an offer to Anthony Rapp, who was in Rent and Beautiful Mind.
Dan Mirvish, Mad Genius, called me. No, well, let's see. First he emailed me and asked me if I would do the movie. So it's like very unconventional way to find out about it.
Okay, he's friends with Gibson Fraser.
He knew of me, well, among other reasons, because of
Man of the Century, which played at Slamdance. And then Anthony was in Man of the Century with Gibson. I was lucky.
Gibson gave us his email directly, and he got that.
Which was a big mistake.
Gibson verified me to Dan, and then he verified Dan to me, so.
I know, Paradigm was like, wait a minute, how did you? Yeah, going around the agents is a very tricky thing. It can backfire, because then they'll say no, because they want to bring the material a lot of the time. The agent wants to look like that they pitched you and they suggested you. It was really cool because the cast was coming together in a really mixed way. You had Broadway, you had Sally Kellerman from MASH, and you had Kellie Martin from ER, so you had television, theater, and features. It was already a mixed cast.
A few years ago, Dan had written a script called Stamp and Deliver. 4 days away from principal photography, the money people decided they wanted to change the shooting schedule. This request that was made of us was a breach of contract, so we all had to honorably withdraw. So thus we were unemployed I got home and there was a message on my machine basically saying that, Jimmy, this is Dan, and I'm doing another movie called Open House, and it's a part you'd be great for. So, you know, if you're not busy, I'd love to have you. And so give me a call when you get a chance. By the way, did I mention it's a musical? Call me back.
I actually got a call from Dan, and he sent me a copy of the script. And I read it and thought it was very weird. And then I realized that it was Dan Mirvish doing it, and I knew that it would be weird. So I absolutely signed on.
Well, you know, when you get the call to work with Dan, you have 3 questions. Where, when, and how much am I getting paid?
I was in Vegas and my manager called and he said, you know, you got this meeting tonight at 5 o'clock. And I said, oh, okay, whatever. I said, what's the sides? He says, nah, I just want to meet you. And I'm like, okay. When I went in to meet with Dan, and so he says, well, can you sing Happy Birthday? And I said, yeah, you want it like Marilyn Monroe, or you just want, you know, the regular version? He says, give me the regular version. And then we talked for like 10 minutes after that, and that was it. I figured, you know, this ship's taking on water, you know, we're sunk.
Mirvish, like Scorsese, sat down with me, talked about how deep this role of Ron Tucker was as a police officer, a Serpico meets, you know, Jake LaMotta. So yeah, put on like 35 pounds for it, and then of course shed it for the next project.
Joel, no, I was originally called in for Stanley Nasser, the permanent rent to Jack Asser.
For Stanley. So I saw like dozens of young boys, which was a fine day of casting. That is the casting. So I saw Brandon Williams, who, I don't know, he was, how do I explain it?
I don't know, but I wish you would.
I just thought he was interesting.
My good friend Joel Michaely, who's a pimp in the movie, pimped me out for the part.
I was very excited that the part was based on Sarah Jane Olsen, in part because I had followed the SLA when they were first in action, and I actually was very intrigued by the fact that she got captured, and the day of shooting was the day she got sentenced. So it all seemed to be fate.
It was cast through my association with the very fine director, Dan Mirvish, from previous work we had done together.
I know Dan from, he cast me in his first film, Omaha the Movie, where even though I'm a white boy from Omaha, I played a Colombian jewel thief named Gustavo.
You guys are like Bolivians or something.
Bit of a reunion on the set with a number of us who had been involved with that motion picture.
Originally I was told by Mr. Mirvish that I'd come in, say a couple things as a store clerk, and be on my way.
And I was going to be the snitch. And then about a half hour ago, there was a executive decision to make me the clerk, because the guy who was playing the clerk had combat experience.
Now I'm involved in a 30-move fight scene that involves me falling off a 3-foot table, being hit by 3 different people, kicked twice, and stabbed once. I'm you know, staying in tune with Mr. Mirvish's films of getting beaten heavily about the head.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I've been a big fan for a long time.
Hey, all right.
I love your work.
Nice to enter security on this film?
Yeah, I'm doing security, but I've seen all your films. I got your albums. Sorry to interrupt.
That's great. Well, you know, you can't stop that from happening.
Yeah, Emmett Walsh, he passed. We know he got the script because we threw it over the fence to him. And then George Lazenby, 007, Bond.
Was cast.
He was cast. He wanted $1,000 a day, which was our budget, so we couldn't. A snafu. We cast a guy the night before.
And he said,
he was under the weather. Exactly. He was going to take some sleeping pills, turn the phone off so he wouldn't get any more interruptions. An older gentleman. So I get a call the next morning. I get up early anyway, but I got a call at 5:45 a.m. First day of shooting, 7:30 call time. He says, I'm not feeling very well. I'm not going to make it. I'm very sorry. So I jump out of bed, star 69, get him on the phone, and I'm like, what? I'll come pick you up. What's wrong? And he's like, well, I'm not feeling well. I'm like, no, what is it? What is it? I have swollen testicles. And I don't think he was making that up. So I call Dan at home. Suddenly I hear, what? So yeah, we lost him, and that was very sad. We hope he's doing well. I went to the next guy, the trumpet guy, Ian Whitcomb.
But you know, you're quite lucky with me, actually, because I am, in my field, quite well known, having been a rock and roll star in the 60s, used to tour with Mick Jagger and had a novelty hit. That's my song, come on now, honey. I was a teen idol.
Trumpet, didn't he hold in the picture? Ukulele, whatever. He held an instrument that wasn't a swollen testicle in his hand.
Tell me, you were on the set, you hadn't got a guy to play the part, I got dressed and showered and came down. Enlarged testicles, right? Yes. Not swollen balls, but I think it's the same thing.
It takes a life of its own, it has a reality, and you start making offers and it sort of snowballs into a movie. It's kind of amazing, but it's a lot of pushing people to get those scripts out, to respond to us, to ask the actor, hello, hello? Then there's nothing, right? The worst they can say is no, and then you ask them again and say, are you sure? Because this is a great material, and I'm not going to wait for it. But you always have to go after people that you want, and that's just the process. And I don't know, I think it's very exciting. I love the process because it's sort of like, I would say it's like painting, because you're putting colors together and people together and trying to make things work. It's fun, it's a lot of fun.